Everything's showing up for you.
Hold on. Is that the game? You got a game going right now?
Nah, what you mean a game?
That's just the wrong video game. Hold on.
I'm pulling up the stream on my phone just to make sure. Everything's showing up. And we good. Say something, Jalen.
Yo, what's up, man?
I'm pulling up the stream on my phone just to make sure. You know, it's a little delay over here. And we good. Say something, Jalen.
Oh yeah, you got a red shirt on.
All right, cool. We good. So.
You got red. You got a red shirt on.
Yeah. You said what now?
All right.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's you.
Yeah. So you thought it was. All right. So if you joining us today, I know we pretty much was talking about yesterday how you 50K ain't nothing. I know I came off the wrong way. I probably came off entitled. I'm sorry about that. I apologize. So I wanted to clear some things up tonight and let y'all know that you actually can do a lot with 50K. You can do more than you actually could think with 50K a year as far as a salary, but you need to be disciplined, you need to be diligent, and you need to have a certain type of mindset to be successful with that much money. Because most people think, okay, I'm making 20, 30K a year now, I can just go ahead and, go crazy. I'm making 3 times or 2 times as much money as I made ever, so I ain't gonna have no problems. I ain't gonna be able to pay the bill. I mean, I ain't gonna have no struggles paying the bills, but it's not really like that. You gotta have a certain mindset to be able to have self-control, and not add all these extra bills and these extra expenses that's gonna catch up with you in the end. So, before I get too deep into it, just want to introduce y'all to my boy Jelan. Jelan Seward is on the stream with me tonight. He's not on camera, but you probably can hear his voice. So I know you can hear his voice. So Jelan, go ahead, introduce yourself to the people.
Hey, what's up? I don't know what's the name of your channel. It says "Don't Keep Scrolling."
Don't Keep Scrolling is the name of the show. Episode 3, we on right now. So,
yeah. So what's up to all my Don't Keep Scrolling fans? As he said, my name is Jelan Seward. I'm a longtime friend of this guy. Kind of one of the reasons why I guess I wanted to join in on this episode, because one of the conversations we had on Facebook the other day, I felt like Sterling was being Sterling and wasn't trying to see things from a slightly lower perspective. So I felt like I needed to chime in. So yeah, that's me.
So yeah. Also, once again, if you're watching this, just pay attention, take some good notes, and if you got any questions, let me know what questions you got. Like, subscribe to my channel. If you're not familiar with my YouTube, I got the link at the bottom bar. I got all my social media, my YouTube, my Twitter, and my Instagram. I didn't add a Twitch link up there, but my Twitch is the same as the YouTube and the Instagram, LARGE SEVAN. So yeah, just to go ahead and get started. First thing I wanted to touch on tonight is people. Like I said before, people really need to know that things could easily go south, even if you're making that 50K a year, because I don't want people to repeat the same mistakes I made, when I started making my first real money in life. Long story short, back in 2016, as soon as I graduated from college, moved out here to the Raleigh-Durham area, and got a good job with Verizon at the time. Was on a contract as a software tester. That was a year contract. That was my first time making some real money. Then ended up getting hired permanently by Verizon at the end of the year. So from 2017, beginning of 2017, all the way up to March of 2019, last year, I was a network engineer at Verizon, the Verizon Enterprise headquarters out in Cary. And my income went up every year. Things, on paper, things look great, but every year I was struggling more and more. Every year had new issues come up, new bills come up, and things like that. And pretty much, that just resulted in me living paycheck to paycheck, even though I was making more money than most people ever make where I'm coming from, And so, and this is with me being, I feel like I was just telling Jalen, I feel like I'm fiscally responsible for the most part. I've made a few irresponsible decisions like we all have in our 20s and stuff throughout the years, but I feel like I was more responsible than the average person, and I still, fell into that trap. So I'm trying to give y'all some tips on how to avoid, going through the same things I went through a few years ago, so you don't have to deal with those issues, because when you coming up in a low income community, having these kinds of conversations is taboo. Black families, most black families that don't come from money, don't ever talk about money, unfortunately. And because of that, I wasn't raised knowing much about finances or how to manage my finances or how to best go about stashing my money or investing my money when the time came. And like I said, I had to learn the hard way. I know better now, but I'm still kind of digging myself out of that hole. So I don't want y'all to have to do the same thing I did as far as digging yourself out of a hole. I want you to be able to take the knowledge before you even need the knowledge. So when you do need it, you can go ahead and reach the sky, So anything you want to touch on as far as starting off, Jelan, as far as, how it is where we from or growing up in a low-income community, anything like that?
I mean, you touched on a lot of the things that I guess anybody would need to know. One of the things I will piggyback off of, though, is that you talk about how taboo it is to talk about finances in the black community, especially coming from a low poverty, low income community. They do talk about money, but one of the main things we only talk about is actually just trying to make money. No one ever talks about actually, sustaining money, but actually just making as much as you possibly can. You hear it a lot when you're coming up as adolescents in the community, as people tell you about their future and what do you want to do and what are the decisions you want to make going forward. They always tell you, hey, go for this job or go for that career because they make the most money, blah, 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 but never follow what you want to do, et cetera, et cetera. I don't want to get off topic here talking about that type of thing, so I'll stick to the money part of it. But most of what films are...
Hey, Jelan, you're a little muffled right now, yo.
My bad.
Yeah.
But can you hear me clear now?
Yeah, that's better. That's perfect. So stay like that.
All right. But most of what Sterling's already touched on, I mean, just a lot of things we're probably going to dive into deeper detail, about the taboo things about, finances and money. And one of the main things I know I want to touch on in this conversation, I think me and Sterling probably go back and forth on, is the standard of living. That really is going to, I guess, be the basis for your standard of this $50,000 argument. I mean, what is your standard of living? If your standard of living is within the means of 50K, then 50K is a lot of money to you. You know what I mean? But if you have, I guess, a higher standard of living than the average person, then 50K may not be anything compared to how you want to live. So, but yeah, hopefully Sterling start off the conversation good, the way we can flow, where we can tell you guys our backstories, the way we can connect with you guys from a personal standpoint. Yeah. And I know everything won't relate in terms of direct relations to your life, what you've been through, but hopefully it's something in there that you can take tips from that will benefit you going forward.
Yep. So as far as topics for today, I'm pretty sure you guys see the topics at the top, but we're kind of gonna go down the list and just touch on each topic and how that relates to our situations, our community in particular, and the bigger picture as a whole. So when you look at credit cards, for example, like this was a big one for me because credit cards, I feel like, saved my life at some point, and they also are a big reason why I'm in the situation I'm in. So just to touch on the pros and cons of credit cards and my story in particular, I got my first credit card 2013. I was in college. I think I was either a sophomore at the time or a junior at UNCG in Greensboro. I got my first Walmart card. I was told during the time that Walmart had the easiest card to get, if you were trying to build your credit. And so I went applied for the Walmart card, got approved, had like a $300-400. I think I had a $300 credit limit starting off, and yeah, man, I was happy as hell about it. And I actually got the card, and everything was cool. I just spent it, bought like little stuff here and there that I knew I needed, like or not even needed, stuff that I wanted, like just because at the time I was trying to build my credit. So I went and bought first thing I could think of, I bought like a PlayStation controller or a little PlayStation controller charger or something like that, and just to be able to, use the credit card and get a consistent habit of using the card established. And so things started out good. I was paying off my little balance because I really didn't have much, of a balance. I only had a $300 limit. So things was cool with that. And then, before I graduated college, I had, graduated to by that point, this is like 2 years later. I graduated December 2015. So by that point, I was able to build my credit up to a point where I had 3 credit cards. I think I had a Capital One card and a Credit One card by the time I graduated, and so I could use those cards.
They didn't increase your balance in the Walmart card?
Yeah, I did. I'm glad you brought that up. I got like a couple increases. By the time 2016 rolled around, I was sitting on like a $700-800 credit limit. But before it was all said and done, I had over $1,000 credit limit on the Walmart card. But I don't even have that card no more. They ended up closing it like a couple years ago because I didn't use the account. Like I really don't even use store cards nowadays. Once you got general credit cards, you don't need to use store cards really. So that was really the whole point I got that card, was just so I can be able to graduate to a real credit card that I could use anywhere. And but yeah, you want to touch on your first credit card or how that went for you or anything like that?
Yeah, so like one of my first credit cards was actually a Walmart credit card too. Same thing. I think they were I guess backed by Synchrony Bank at the time.
Yep.
They still are actually.
Yeah.
But Synchrony Bank was popular around the time because it was like, I guess they were the main sponsor of credit cards around then. So I had 2 credit cards through Synchrony. I had one from Walmart, I had a Old Navy credit card, and I believe I had a jewelry store one as well.
Okay.
And then I transferred from there to a more generic, mainstream, I guess whatever you want to call it, credit card, the MasterCard.
Yeah.
And then I actually got one through my bank as well. So the Walmart credit card was, I guess, my worst experience. And I'll touch base on why that was my worst experience. Because at the time, like around the same time Sterling had his credit card through Walmart, I had mine. And I was a college student, and using that card as my first credit card was, like, I guess, like the worst possible decision, because we bought everything from Walmart. We bought house supplies, we bought groceries, we bought this, we bought that from Walmart.
Yeah.
And another thing about that card was they allowed you to get cash back from that card too. So you didn't actually have to purchase anything in the store, but you could actually get cash through the ATM from that card, which was a big no-no. For credit card. It's a big no-no if you do that for credit card. So
yeah, the interest rate is usually like 20% or something like that. For those types of cards at least. Now, if you got a better card like an Amex or Discover or something, they probably do have a smaller fee for cash advances. Right. But if you get a cash advance off a credit card, they charging you, $5-10 minimum, even if you only taking out $20. And then on top of that, if you're taking out $200 in cash, okay, well that $5-10 is less than the 20% that they would charge theoretically. So at that point, they're taking 20% on top of that. So if you're pulling out $200 in cash, they're gonna charge you $40 on top of it. Just hypothetically, if that's your interest rate for the cash advances. So
at the time, I didn't have any idea about what that was.
Yeah. So if you don't have the money to put that back like within 30 days before the interest kicks in on that card, then don't even do it. Like, just dub it. Because you're going to find yourself in a hole real fast doing stuff. And I've done that before, too. I wouldn't even get to that part yet, but, man, the Walmart wasn't my only store card. I had a GameStop card and all that. And so, it came to a certain point where I was like, I had other balances on other cards, and I needed money for whatever, it's this college. Right. So, yeah, I needed to pull some money out, and the Walmart card was always there. And so I always made sure I paid it, paid my balance down or paid it off. That's how I kept the card so long. Because if I was just, maxed it out and then paid my bill, my credit would have got shot out. My accounts would have got closed. I wouldn't have had no credit. So that's how I was able to keep the card so long. But you can see how you can end up in a cycle of, oh man, I need to pay this credit card bill. But I ain't got money like that, so let me pull some cash out from this credit card. Like, you can easily get up in a loop like that if you're not careful. And it sounds like we both were in that loop at some point. So, stuff like that is the start of your problems. That's only the start of your problems. If you start making a lot of money and you start using your credit cards and you're paying off your balances, but you're only paying the minimum. And that's why it's imperative that you pay more than just the minimum. You don't want to just pay the minimum on your credit card and just be, forgetting about it, not thinking about it, especially if you got a huge balance, You want to pay off as much as you possibly can. And looking at things like 0% promos. So this is where, the conversation starts getting a little bit higher level. Once let's say 2016, for example, perfect time for me to get into this particular section. That's when my credit score really started taking off because like I said, I was making my first bit of real money, and I was getting a taste of that financial freedom per se, but I didn't have the mindset at the time to go about it the right way. So, like I said, I had the Walmart card, I had the GameStop card, Capital One, Credit One, and I feel like I had like another card too, but I can't think of it right now. I had like 5, 6 credit cards my first year out of college, and then I got a state employees card. I got a state employees credit union card right after I graduated, and that was like the biggest balance I ever had at that time. I had a $2,000 credit limit, and so what happened was I went to Miami right after college. Like, this is spring break.
You talking about that trip we took?
Yep, spring break 2016. Spring break 2016. I wanted to ball out. I wanted to be that guy. And so I didn't have, but, let's say I had $1,000 in the bank or something like that at the time in my savings. And, I had just started working at Verizon a couple months before. And so for whatever reason, I didn't want to pay for that whole trip. That trip, let's say that cost me like $700-800 that trip in all. So I pretty much paid for most of that trip on my state employees card that I had just got. Whether it was the the hotel that we stayed in or the Airbnb that we stayed in, that my part for that, whether it was me buying clothes for the trip, gas to get there. I know we all split the gas, but we got scammed. I got scammed by Tevin because he was supposed to pay me,
for a certain name drop.
Fuck that. Tevin, you get name drop. I got scammed a couple times in life, but this guy, he was actually one of my best friends for like a year and a half, like 2 years, like from Walgreens days when I was in college up until right after I graduated. And I trusted him. I let him get off the hook with it. It's too much. But pretty much, he ended up going on a trip with us, and I don't think he ever gave me gas money for that trip, but I know Darius had paid his part for the Airbnb, because Darius paid the Airbnb. That Tevin never gave him his part, which was like $150 or something. And so it's just little things like that, that you got to deal with. Not saying everybody got to deal with scammers, but I'm saying, like, in my particular case, that's what I had to deal with at the time. So I ended up putting $700-800 on that card as soon as I got it. And I don't know whether I consolidated any debt at that time, but I do know I eventually went and started doing balance transfers because, okay, I was like, if I'm going to go ahead and have all these cards, like I said, I had 4 or 5 credit cards at the time. I'm like, there's no point in paying 4 or 5 credit card bills a month and paying the minimum at that when I can just consolidate everything to one card and pay one bill and throw more money on that card so I can get it out the way quicker. And that's what a balance transfer is. So that's when I got into balance transfers. 2016 was when I did my first balance transfer. I think that's when I did it. Pretty much took all that debt from those cards that I just named, consolidated it to that state employees card. But that was after I got my first credit line increase. I ended up getting doubled my credit line to like $4,000 on that card, and then I did something like that. And interest rate was like, 8-9%? I think it's 10% actually for state employees. So that was also the lowest interest rate I had at the time because, normally you starting off with 20-25% interest rates.
24.99.
Yeah, 24.99, especially if you're in college, you ain't got it like that.
Right.
They starting you off like that out the gate. And that's an annual interest rate. That's an APR. And so annually you're getting 25% interest charged on whatever your balance is. And they start accruing that after 30 days, that interest starts accruing. And so,
yep.
and it's actually, it's calculated daily. Most people think that 25% is calculated on a yearly basis, but they calculate that daily. They break it down and divide it by 365, and that's the real daily interest rate. And so that way they can nickel and dime you a little bit more. You actually end up paying a little bit more in interest like that. So that's why it's imperative. That's another reason it's imperative to get that debt out the way as soon as possible. And so what I did was I did a balance transfer. Like I said, I was able to pay down a lot of debt that year, but my credit score kept going up. At its peak that year, I think I had like a 720, 730. And so what happened was towards the end of that year, I ended up getting my first Amex card, got me a Blue Cash card like November of 2016. and then I got a Discover card the next month, December 2016, and then from there it was over, man. If you know anything about American Express or Discover, they're giving you thousands of dollars off the gate. I had like $4,000, $4,000 credit limits, and that was the most money I ever had, disposable money I had that wasn't mine at once. And so, I actually added a family member. I won't name him, but I had added a family member as an authorized user on my Amex card that year, and they ended up spending like, man, I think they spent like $1,000 in 2-3 months, like from Christmas time to like beginning of that next year, and yeah, that wasn't fun. I had to pay that back, and I learned my lesson on that one because it was a close family member, and I was like, I knew they needed some help at the time, so I was like, let me, get you on my card because I know you needed help, and I was trying to build their credit. But if you ain't used to money, if you ain't never had, thousands of dollars at your disposal at one time, then you're not gonna really be able to control yourself. You're gonna be up in the in the stores at the mall or the shopping center. You can be like, oh well, I can just put it on the credit card, pay it back later. And they were helping me pay it back, but I wasn't gonna make them pay that whole balance because this is a close family member, and I'm not about to tell y'all who it was. But like I said, just know I ate that and I learned my lesson. But this is stuff that I'm trying to get y'all to realize that no matter who it is, I don't care if it's your aunt, your cousin, your brother, even your mom or your dad, don't put an authorized user on your credit card unless you know for a fact that you don't care or that you just gonna pay it back regardless because at the end of the day that's your responsibility, and they're not gonna be liable for that money that you gotta pay back. That's gonna be you. And so nowadays the only way I would recommend or I would do an authorized user is if I add them without them even knowing, and I never even send them the card. I just do that. You just do that to help them build up their credit. My boy Trey just did that recently. He posted about it. He added a cousin on, and as an authorized user, and her credit score went up like 100 points in like 2-3 months. So
yeah, I was about to piggyback out there, yo. I was about to say, like, I know when I was younger too, my stepmom added me to her account, or one of her store account cards, and then she basically just never gave me a card though. So it's basically the same thing you described.
Yeah. So yeah, and that's really the only way I would recommend it. If you like I said, you coming from a low income community, low income family, most people don't have that type of self control, to be able to responsibly do that. If you only gonna be able to pay $25-$30, which is normally the minimum or around the minimum on that card per month, most people don't got the self control to only spend $25-$30 a month. Like, they might be spending that a day. So it's all about being smart when it comes to your money and not letting your emotions get in between, your financial stability and your family, I guess. Because at the end of the day, you can't be there for your family if you ain't got nothing, And I'm pretty sure you understand that. You're a father, and kids ain't cheap, so.
No, not at all. I mean, hell, life just ain't cheap in general. But no, I mean, I can attest to helping family members out, man. Like, what I mean? Sometimes I think this goes back to one of your basics about like just the whole generational wealth and breaking curses about just coming from a family that's not used to having anything. You know what I mean? When you're coming from a family that's not used to having anything, a lot of people expect stuff out of you once you start making a certain amount of money, or they know that you're moving on up in the chain.
Yeah.
But I think a lot of times you gotta really like tell yourself, you can only live for you in certain cases. You can help out as you can, but you gotta help you for the most part first.
Right. And that's what time I'm on nowadays. I'm helping myself first and foremost because I can't be there for my mom if I ain't got it, or if I ain't making sure I got it.
Right.
And same thing goes for my dad or any other close family members. But what I will say is, the cousins and the brothers and the extended family that's not in your immediate household or haven't been there all your life and was helping you out when you needed it. I wouldn't really put them too high on the priority list because what I will say is once you start making real money and people notice that, whether it's 50K or 100K or even more, they definitely gonna come out the woodworks. You're gonna have family coming out, asking you for all types of money, whether it's $20 here or let me hold 100 for this, cause my light's about to get cut off this, and you know, my son birthday coming up, that, and all of these types of excuses, and you know, they're gonna be saying all of the stuff in the world, like I'm gonna pay you back Friday, or I'm gonna get you back next month, or I got this coming through. I'm gonna get you I'm gonna get you right as soon as I get it. Cause let me tell you from firsthand experience, bro. I've loaned family members thousands of dollars, and I'm still waiting on thousands of dollars from a couple of my family members. So yeah, like just just keep that in mind, like. And I loaned that money off of. I was stupid, bro. I don't even feel right saying this, but I loaned a lot of that money off of credit cards back during that year, that 2016.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, during that 2016 year, because I was thinking that I was gonna get my money back in weeks, or a week, or like a very short time span. I put interest on it and everything, thinking that okay, I'm gonna get my money back because this person got this going on. They got this great paying job, they got this business, etc. I'm talking about I was loaning money to cousins that was making more money than me at the time. And so I'm thinking that because they making more money than me, that I'm gonna be straight, that right. There's no possible way that they not gonna pay me back because this is, my cousin I known all my life and they make more money than me. They just, don't have credit like me because they wasn't thinking about that stuff when they was my age, but they making the money. They making the actual tangible money. Well, let me tell you, it don't matter, like, because if they didn't work for that money, they don't understand that it's not their money at the end of the day. They just got the money and they spent it. They did whatever they want on it, but at the end of the day, they didn't earn it. They didn't have to put in the blood, sweat, and tears for that. They didn't have to build up their credit scores over years, and they didn't understand how hard it was to get to the point to be able to do that, and not blink twice. So they think that you just got it like that. Even if you tell them, even if you argue with them and tell them up and down, I ain't got it like that. I need my bread, blah, 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 blah. They still gonna tell you what you want to hear just so they can get what they want. And next thing you know, as soon as they off the phone or out of your sight, they partying or smoking or drinking, and habits cost a lot of money. I've seen people spend anywhere from $50 to $100 a day on weed or on alcohol. So these vices don't go nowhere when you start making a lot of money. They just get worse. They just magnify the situation, And even when, I was doing those things, I wasn't doing it to that extent. But I do know that it costs a lot of money. It costs, we're not going to get started on, like I said, the drug habits and stuff like that. Everybody went through college. Everybody knows how much it costs to turn up. But some people turn up for a living. Some people never... they never flip that switch. They doing it every day. They doing it every weekend, going out every weekend. And, I've seen people making 70K, 100K a year with nothing in the bank because they literally party every weekend, or they drink and smoke their life away, or they just they're up in their neck and so many bills that they just don't have the capacity to save. And so it's many ways to go broke. There are many ways to fall off of that cliff financially. Anything you wanted to add to that? I know I kind of been talking for a while.
Yeah, you kind of went on a tangent for a minute, man.
My bad, bro.
Yeah, it's all good, man. You gotta get off the chest. But I think you was primarily talking about like just loaning money to family. I think those were the primary basis of your whole spiel there. From my experience, man, I've always been taught, like, to always give your family the benefit of the doubt. Obviously, from where I'm from, a small town, much like relate to you, man, we're real close with our family. It's pretty much all we got from all we were given when we were being raised. So I kind of, I have a soft spot for my family in my heart. So whenever I can help them, I can. But I don't think I've ever been in a position where I've actually had to or been asked to loan money to family members that actually are established or make more money than I do. Or maybe it's because they already know that I'm just not going to do that. Like, I only help who needs help or people who need help and are willing to try to help themselves. You know what I mean? I'm not going to help someone who's
Yeah.
out there, not absolutely doing nothing shit with their lives and are not asking for handouts. You know what I mean? I never believed in that.
Right.
I've loaned family members money plenty of times that, said, hey, we'll pay you back, but in the end, I've never seen a drop of dime. I mean, it doesn't change anything in our relationship. It just means that in some cases, they just were that bad off that they just weren't able to pay back. But you do get those family members that do ask for money with ill intentions, like, of never paying you back. And I think that's what Sterling was touching on, like, in some cases.
I don't even think his intentions was bad at the time. I just think that things didn't work out the way they were supposed to work out. And after it didn't, it was like he knew he couldn't pay me back. And he know that at the end of the day, that's not his money. Like, that was my money that he messed up. It wasn't his money he messed up. So it was like, okay, I really don't, I can't pay you back. Like, and then, like, it's crazy because I just talked to this guy not too long ago, and he's like, yeah, I'm gonna get you right, cause I just, I want to do it all at once. I want to do it piece by piece, and I'm sitting here like, bro, it's been like 3-4 years. Like, I don't care at this point. I want
stuff like that, man. You just gotta let go.
That's the thing. That's the thing. Like, that's the thing. I don't even talk about it no more. I don't even bring it up. But they still will bring it up and make you try to feel comfortable, like put you at ease, like they working on something, and I'm like, either you're gonna pay me back or you're not. I don't even want to talk about it no more. Like, if I call you, if I call him, he don't even pick up the phone. Like, that's the type of stuff. But he'll come around me and talk like that, and like I'd rather you just keep it real with me and just tell me, you're not gonna do that. I would explain the situation.
I think you explained enough already.
Yeah, because I just wanted to explain it. I just wanted to explain it a little deeper so people can understand how easy it is to fall in that trap. But long story short, they had a business, and their business was bringing in a lot of money. Like I said, more money than I was making at the time, and things kind of fell off a little bit. And things didn't fall off. Something just came up, and they needed like a couple grand to keep the business going. If they didn't get that couple grand, the business would have fell apart. Like, and so I loaned them a couple grand, and something else happened, and they wasn't. Now I'm out of $2,000, and on top of that, the business isn't going no more, and so ended up loaning them a little bit more. I think like another grand on top of that, so they can get back on track. And then things fell apart a few months later again, and they didn't have the money to pay me back fully at that point, and the business fell apart. And I'm like, I'm not gonna keep kicking out money, and you already owe me money at that point. And so, like I said, that's how things happen though, if you're not cognizant of other people's habits and other people's discipline, because if they not saving money and they just blowing all of their bread on the weekends, partying or doing whatever else, and they're not putting money away or they're not investing their bread, then it's not worth investing in them, because they don't even subconsciously, they don't even believe in themselves or care enough about their own situation to make sure they get on the right track and to make sure that they pay you back.
Yeah, so I guess some things you can take from this scenario that Sterling describing is, number one, don't loan money by borrowing. Don't borrow money to loan money.
Right.
Number one.
Right.
Let's not do that.
That's the biggest thing. And two.
Number two, I guess, don't loan outside of your means. You know what I mean? If someone's in need, obviously they're in need of money. But if their needs exceed what you could give, then you can only give what you can. Like, don't try to be that hero person to, save the day for one of your family members. You know what I mean? Right. As long as you have good intent in your heart that, hey, I just don't have it right now, or I can give you this amount, blah, blah, blah. I don't know how you're going to figure out the rest, but this is what I can give you that I'm comfortable with, et cetera, et cetera. And another thing, I guess, is the whole loaning thing to family members is all up to you. You know what I mean? I know Sterling touched base on not loaning outside of your immediate family, but, everybody's family is different. You know what I mean? You consider some family members closer than others, and I may consider some family members closer than others. You know what I mean? Your cousin may be closer to you than your actual sister or brother. You know what I mean? It's just all based on your perspective. But all I can say is this: the main rule is do not loan outside of your means. Like if it's outside of the range of what you can give, don't try to be hero and go loan money to then lend money to bank on somebody paying you back when they're in need already. So
Yeah, yeah, because that never ends well. And you don't want to mess up no relationships over no money. Like, because nowadays, yo, like, people messing up relationships anyway. You definitely don't want to put no money in between it. Then shit really going to get ugly. So, um, next topic. Damn, I lost my track of thought. But dangers of living beyond your means. We already talked about this, so we're not gonna really stay on this too long. But like I said, if you don't really stay cognizant of what your budget is and how much you can actually afford to spend on a monthly basis, you can easily increase your spending to the point where you matching or exceeding your actual budget. Because I didn't say I was a financial planner for like 6 months last year. I don't know if I know a lot of people don't know that, but people close to me do. And pretty much I seen people, black people, coming from the same area we coming from, or even out here in Raleigh, making 70K to 100K a year roughly with literally no savings. Less than $1,000 in savings or $250 in savings, and no room to save because let's say they're bringing in $5,000 a month or $5,500 a month after taxes. Their bills are like 4,000. No, matter of fact, I'm tripping. That was before taxes. Yeah, let's say before taxes they're bringing in 5,000,
I was about to say, man.
Yeah, 5,000, 5,500 a month before taxes. So after taxes, I know tax brackets changing all the time, right? But just to give you a good idea, if you bringing in 5,500 a month, which is a lot of money, I've never made that much money, but let's say hypothetically you bringing in 75% of that, so you're already in like the 22% tax bracket at the time. State taxes are a little lower, so let's just say you're bringing in around 4,100, 4,125 a month, right? Well, let's say hypothetically this guy, because this is a real situation, is spending about $4,000 a month. And so really, if you're spending $4,000 a month, and that $4,000 a month is bare necessities, we talking rent, light bill, water bill, car payment, credit card bills, loans, student loans, any dues or associations you in, food, gas, to get to work. Like, this is all basic necessities that you're spending $4,000 a month on. The other 125 is not gonna go nowhere. You're not even gonna see that really, because you can spend up one.
Go to like that BS stuff, but you really don't calculate your budget.
Right, that's gonna go to the college basketball game. That's gonna go to Netflix or Amazon Prime or stepping out.
Deodorant.
Stepping out for a drink on the weekend. Like, bro, you can spend up $125 so fast nowadays. $125 is nothing, but that's literally the wiggle room that a lot of people are working with these types of budgets because of living beyond their means and growing their bills as they increase their budget. Like for example, me, I just want to touch on this for a second because
I think you need to clarify what you mean by technically living within your means. I think to some people, man, especially where we come from, to live within your means it basically means that you're not broke. So that's why you see people sometimes that say, hey, we got that $125 left over. My bill's paid, so I'm straight. A lot of people have that mindset that they're living within their means because they can afford to pay all their bills.
That's not
not think about think about other things. So I think you need to clarify what you truly mean to live within your means.
Yeah, so that's not sustainable, right? So if you making $4,000, no matter how much money you make, right? You want to be able to spend only a certain amount of money on necessities. So when I was in the financial planning, we talked about the 60-20-20 rule, which basically means that for every dollar you make, 60% of that should go to fixed expenses, like all of the bills I just named, light bill, water bill, rent, car payment, all the bills you can't get away from, the expenses you can't get away from, putting food on the table, stuff like that. 20% should go to saving or investing, and another 20% should go towards discretionary spending, which would be going out on the weekends and stuff like that. So if we talking a person that makes $4,000 a month, Or matter of fact, just for the sake of this conversation, since we started out the 50,000,
50. I was about to say, go
let's
to
just do the
50,000.
50,000.
Go to
Let's just do the
50,000.
50,000. Okay, so that's 37,500 after taxes, right?
Right.
So what we do is
So, hey, hold on. Speak on that too, because a lot of people hear the $50,000 and automatically think that their checks are going to amount to $50,000 at the end of the year.
yeah, that's not how it works. I wish.
So, but I think you clarify that.
So the more money you make, the higher your tax bracket, and the more money they're gonna take out. So let's do it like this. I'm gonna look up federal tax rates 2020, and I will show you firsthand how much it costs to live. I mean, how much the cost of taxes is depending on how much money you make. And so, boom, here it is. So if you're a single individual, which most people are nowadays, most people not getting married nowadays, and you looking at between 40,000 and 80,000. I'm sorry, I'm tripping. Between 40,000 and 85,000, you're in a 22% tax bracket, and
Right.
so what that means is before taxes, you're gonna be in a 22% tax bracket. So if you're making, like I said, 50,000, they're taking out 22% of that. So we're gonna do times 0.78, 78% of that, and that's $39,000. But you still haven't accounted for state taxes yet. So let's do North Carolina tax rates 2020, and you can easily see how your money, like, that's 20% of my money gone already, and they still
without you ever even seeing it. Like, you never touched that money.
Yeah, nah, the government took that, and they don't need it.
You never see that money.
They still took it though.
Yeah.
So, it's
But that's
crazy.
important to say though. Like, you never see that portion of your salary though. Like, you know what I mean? Most people feel like they gotta manage and budget, but you never see that portion of your money.
Well, some people, they don't pay taxes, but hey, they don't normally end up.
Yeah.
They don't end up well. I cannot find this tax rate. Okay, it varies by by
I'm about to say
county. Okay, but is this the income tax rate, or is this like
That's
is sales
the
and use
sales
tax?
tax,
I'm
right?
tripping.
I think income tax rate. I think it's like that's sales tax.
Yeah, North Carolina income tax rates 2020. Okay, North Carolina state tax calculator. So okay, cool. This is perfect. So if you're single, making $50,000 in North Carolina, okay, boom. So they're taking out $2,443 a year in North Carolina state taxes. So that is 5% pretty much. And the federal income tax, I don't know how they're calculating this. Because they got the federal income tax at like 8.74, but I know everybody get the $5,500 exemption, usually. So I don't know if that $5,500, you know what I'm talking about, Jalen? When you file taxes,
Yeah,
you get the exemption every year. So I don't know if they're accounting for that, because technically, if you got a $5,500 exemption and you're making, like I said, 50,000, you're still gonna be at 45,000 for the year, which is gonna still have you in a 22% bracket. But like I said, just for the sake of argument, let's say you're making 50,000 a year, right? Because this is more likely, and they're taking out state and federal taxes. So let's just say they're taking out a quarter of your money. So let's just multiply that by 0.75. Boom, you go at 37,500 after taxes. They already took a quarter of your money away, and you haven't even touched it yet. And so you divide that by 52, and you're making $721 a week, or roughly $28.84 a month. And so pretty much, if you making, let's just say $3,000 a month, this money can easily be gone, right? So somebody like me, I feel like this is one of my biggest problems, the fact that my first year after college, when I first started making that real money, I graduated to living in my own apartment. Had roommates the whole time up until then, but I wanted my own apartment. Got my own apartment. Was paying $950 a month in rent, or $900, but it was roughly $950 after all the fees and stuff. And ever since then, I've been living on my own. I can't live with nobody else no more. and that's just personal preference that I've gotten so used to. Gotten used to this, this comfort of being by myself and not having to worry about roommates and deal with those issues that I can't I can't go back to having roommates and stuff. And that's what I wanted to touch on tonight, because once you get used to living at a certain quality of life, you don't want to go back to how you used to live. And
And that's why you have the whole argument that 50 grand is nothing.
I mean, because you get used to the lifestyle, and like I said, for me, that's just a personal preference. I know having a roommate would save me some money, but I know having a roommate would also sacrifice a lot of my peace of mind. So everybody's situation is different. But what I will say is, as soon as you start making real money, don't try to jump out there and get your own apartment, especially if you've already been living with people your whole life and you don't know how it is to live by yourself. Keep on doing that for a while. Keep on stacking your bread. Stay with grandma for a while. Stay with your mom for a while. Stay with your roommate, your best friend, or your cousin, or whoever else you was living with, or whoever else you can afford to live with and you can be compatible with as roommates. And that's a big key right there, is just being able to save money on the rent, and stuff like that, because that's the majority of most people's bills, is that rent. But
I'm gonna go against the grain on this one, bro. I'm gonna say, man, if you really, if you start making real money, if you've been living with your family members for a long time, and it's one of your goals to move out, then I say you do it. Like, no matter what the financial cost will be, because like you said, that's your peace of mind. You can't put a price on that. You know what I mean? If that's your standard of living by living on your own, like, you can't really put a price on that. Granted, you will save a lot of money by just staying at home, living with your family members, et cetera, which is one of the taboos of our community coming from where we're from too. Like, it's looked down upon you living with your family members for an extended period of time past 18 years old. And that's one of the things, I think one of the main things, I think, with this generational wealth that needs to be expunged. Like, it's okay for college graduates to come back home and live with their parents for a few to, do exactly what Sterling said. And then once they do start making real money, they can then move on and do things their own way. Um, but I think if you have been living with your parents, family members, et cetera, for an extended period of time, and you start making real money and you want to move on, do just that. Just know that your new decisions of you moving by yourself are going to cause you to have to sacrifice some other things. And I think that's where Sterling's going to come in and interject about how your lifestyle of living is going to drastically change based on you just moving by yourself and just having to pay your own rent and having to pay utilities, et cetera, et cetera.
So yeah, all of that. Like, it's not just rent. It's the light bill. It's the water bill. It's the Wi-Fi bill. Cable if you can't live without TV. It's all of those bills you got to pay for. And so if we're talking just that stuff, that's another $400 or $500 on average on top of the rent that you got to pay a month. If you're living in a city like Raleigh. And so really, that $900 or $1,000, because that was 3 years ago, I was paying $950. Nowadays, you paying $1,000, $1,100 for even a one bedroom, out here. So, especially if it's a decent part of town. So, really, that $1,000 or $1,100 is really more like $1,400, $1,500. And so, that's one thing. And what I was saying was, if you not used to living by yourself, you might as well keep on doing that for a couple years, stack your bread up, cut your expenses in half on that end, so you can have a proper savings base built up over that next 2-3 years. So when you do move out on your own, you got 4 or 5,000 or even more, let's say $10,000 in the bank saved up. So that you have a rainy day fund, if in case something goes wrong, you got that cushion. And you won't have to depend on credit cards and falling into that perpetual cycle of debt. If you got to get new tires, or some unexpected expenses come up, or a medical emergency or anything.
I think one of the things you hear me, Sterling?
Yeah, I'm listening.
I think one of the things, like at this point you're making a good point. I think one of the things you're overlooking is that it's easy to get caught up in the trap of staying with parents as well. Like, you can easily get too comfortable with not paying those expenses too, which would then hurt you in the long run as well. You get what I'm saying? Like, you being used to not paying those expenses, and then I don't know, some odd circumstance happen where you have to move out and be on your own. You're then faced with I guess, adversity like right then and there. Like you're not used to paying rent, you're not used to paying utilities, you're not planning for budgeting, your lifestyle hasn't changed for you to adapt to this lifestyle, et cetera, et cetera. So it can have a positive effect, but it also can have a negative effect on your I guess financial mentality as well.
But that's why it's imperative that you have that mindset. Like even when you living with your parents, nobody said that you couldn't be learning on how to budget that whole time, or building your credit up during that time, or stashing money away. That's the whole goal of you doing that, so you can put away 500 a month or 1,000 a month that you couldn't put away if you was paying all of those bills yourself. But I think that's the problem with a lot of people in our particular generation. A lot of people are still living with their parents, people our age or even older, and whether they making as much money as we make, or less or more, they don't have the discipline to say, okay, if I'm saving all of this money by staying with my peoples, I got an extra $750 or $1,000 a month coming in or whatever. But why are you not saving that money? What are you doing with that extra money to the point where you can't put at least $500 aside or $300 aside to make sure that you got extra bread stashed away from when you do move out? Like what is so important? What are you doing? People buying shoes, people buying clothes, people trying to go out on the weekends and flex and for the gram, like people smoking and drinking, like all of these habits, all of these vices are what keep people stagnant and complacent, and not caring about their future because they're living for the moment. And like I said, I had to learn all of that the hard way, but I learned it differently because I didn't really get in this position by doing all of that. My situation is just different, as you probably can tell at this point. But there's many ways to go broke, as many ways to fall off that cliff, as many ways to fall off your high horse. So I just want people to know that there's also many ways to get ahead. Like whether it's building up your credit, whether it's saving up that bread, whether it's investing a little bit of money on the side for the long run, maxing out your 401k. I don't know if people understand about 401ks. When I was at Verizon, I had a 401k where you can match. I was putting in 6% because Verizon matched up to 6%. So, I'm literally putting hundreds of dollars or a few $100s away every month just in my 401k, and they matching that on top of that, dollar for dollar, because I'm putting in 6% and they putting in up to 6%. But since whatever you put up, they're gonna match that up to 6%. And so if I would have put in 7%, they would have still be putting up 6% because that's the max they match up to. And so pretty much anytime your employee matches dollar for dollar your 401k, you want to make sure you're maxing that out. Not only is that doubling the money, your retirement money, but you also lower your taxable income. That also knocked me down to a lower tax bracket. I feel like that first year while I was at Verizon, but after you start making a certain amount of money, it's kind of hard to knock you down to another tax bracket without finding more loopholes and stuff, which is how the rich people get richer, because they got all the loopholes and stuff. We just got the 401k loophole and stuff like that, the IRAs and stuff. But just to go back to that 3,000 though, so just to see how easy that is to spend, right? If you by yourself, let's say we already established out here, Raleigh, Durham area, if you living by yourself, $1,500 that's going towards the bills and all of that, the household utilities and stuff. Let's say you got a car note, right? Let's say you ain't got nothing too crazy. Let's say your car note $350. Okay, so $1,150 a month. That's just what you got left over after taxes and all that. This is $50,000 a year. After you account for taxes, federal and state, and we already took out the rent here. No, we took out the rent right here, and we took out the car payment right here. No, this is rent and utilities. That's a car payment. Let's say car insurance. Let's say you still making payments on it, so you got full coverage. That's another $150.
Let me stop you right there, yo. Mm-hmm. One thing I think a point needs to be made about that car note and then car insurance. Mm-hmm. Whenever you buy a car, it's always best practice to automatically include insurance with your car payment. Do not separate the two. Never separate the two.
Oh yeah. I mean, I already know for a fact that's money out the gate.
No, like a lot of people buy a car and they'll only look at the amount they have to pay on the loan for the car and not the insurance as well.
Yeah, you're right. Cause I mean, bro, it's crazy. Yeah, I'm glad that you brought that up. Cause when I first got my car, they tried to finance me with Santander, bro. I was gonna be paying $565 a month just for the car note. They gave me like an 18% interest rate, and they knocked it off. They knocked off a percent. Thought they was doing me a solid, but I was like, nah. Like I already knew what I was gonna do. I had just joined the credit union like the week before because I was living with my aunt at the time, and she was with the credit union. So what I did was I went and refinanced my car with the credit union like that next week after I got it, and my first payment wasn't due until 2 months later. You know, when you first get a car, your first payment is due a couple months later. So by the time my first payment rolled around that April, I was able to knock my interest rate down from that 18% down to like 3.75% was what it was for new cars at the time with the credit union. And so I literally knocked $200 off my monthly payment just by doing that. And so it took me from $565 a month down to $363 a month for my car payment. And that was on a 2016 car at the time. So, that was a brand new car, and my insurance was still around 150. What? I got to a couple wrecks since then and stuff. So, but at the time, it was roughly 150. It was like 130. Yeah, it was like 135 or something like that. And so, pretty much, yeah, you got a point, Jalen. Like what I was gonna be paying at first would have been what I pay with the insurance now. Pretty much. But even then, after that, I'm still paying $500 a month for the car and the insurance.
Right.
And
a lot of people don't factor that in when they buy a car. They just say, "Oh, my car note ain't but such and such." But if you got a car note, you got to have full coverage. You got full coverage, it's gonna cost a premium amount of insurance.
At least
you might as well include that.
Yeah, at least in North Carolina, because this video is gonna be all around the country and the world. So
right.
In North Carolina, you paying full coverage. You got to pay for full coverage insurance when you have a car you still making payments on. So
you have a lien.
So yeah, all right, we had $1,000 a month, and that's just the rent and the utilities and the car and the insurance. So let's say you have one credit card, right? That's $100 a month. That you throwing on there on average, trying to get that balance down. You're not gonna pay the minimum, right? And so that's $900 a month. And let's say you paying back your student loans now. You're making $50,000 a year. Well, student loans gonna come knocking too. So they want $250 a month from you. They said, and that's pretty average for somebody making that much money. That's pretty much. You can defer it for a year after college, but you can't defer it too long. They're gonna come after you. So let's say $650 is what you got left. And so boom. Now that $3,000 a month that you had at first, off of that, $50,000 a year, you're down to $650. And what can you really do with that? Well, let's say you gotta eat, right? A man gotta eat. Most people, I learned when I was financial planner, most people spend around $300 a month on average on food for the single people. So that's $350 you got left right there. So you gotta get back and forth from work, you get gas. Even if you wasn't driving, if you was taking public transportation and stuff or Ubering. Uber definitely costs. You're gonna spend more than $100, but
spend more than gas.
Yeah. But public transportation will be cheaper than this, obviously. But most people not taking the bus around here. You know that.
I mean, you already added the car note insurance in, so they're gonna have to drive it.
Oh yeah. So exactly. You're right. So $250. That's what we got left, right? That's after the student loans and the credit card, the one credit card. That's after you account for food. That's after you account for gas. In addition to everything else we already talked about. So you got $250 a month left over, and it's starting to look pretty slim for your boy. So what vices do you got? You got to cope with the fact that you're making $50,000 a year and you only got $250 a month left over. So most likely you're smoking some weed or drinking some alcohol to deal with that.
Come on, man. Everybody
I'm just saying, I'm just saying that easily could take up that other $250 right there. Like, and boom, there you go. You
can just say they got some hobbies.
Yeah, you got hobbies. All right, let's just say you got some hobbies, and I don't know whether it's smoking or drinking, or whether it's going to the basketball games, going to the club on the weekends, partying, any of that stuff. Going to the mall, buying some clothes. Let's just say you spend $150 on hobbies a month. Oh yeah, I had 250 at first. Okay, so 250, whatever. Minus 150, boom. We had 100. $100 a month. That's how much you got left. Enjoy your money. Break it down, divide it by 4. That's $25 a week. What you gonna do? How you gonna?
I think you just laid out like maybe one of like the worst case scenarios for a person making $50,000.
Yeah, nah. I mean, but that was my situation one time though. Like that.
Yeah, I get it. Like I get it, like,
and I had more credit cards than that. But what I'm saying is that's bro. That's normal. Like most people making $50,000 live paycheck to paycheck. Like and really the outlier that I'm seeing as far as what separates the people that can not fall in that hole from the people that do is either they have some type of inheritance, they were passed down some land or some type of pension or some type of inheritance, like I said, or if they wasn't passed down nothing, they was passed down some knowledge. They had parents that instilled financial and values and certain goals in them, certain not leeways, but certain tips that they gave them, certain tricks and certain pieces of knowledge and certain nuggets of information throughout the years that allowed them to get to the point where they can take that 50,000 and instead of adding all these extra bills and stuff, they putting their money aside and doing the right stuff with it. So like I said, if you got that $3,000 a month after taxes that you got on that $50,000 a year, and you spend 60% of that on those fixed expenses, like I was saying at first, that means you spending no more than $1,800 on everything that I just named, on the rent, on the car payment, car insurance, utilities, credit cards, loans, everything else. You spending $1,800 a month on that, and that means you should be saving or investing another $600 of that. $600 should be going to either your savings, or let's say $300 if you want to split it up. $300 go to your savings every month. Another $300 go to investing. Let's say you want to put the other $300 in a 401k that your job offer, or through an IRA if your job doesn't offer that. Or maybe you want to take that other $300 and put it, on the stock market, in a mutual fund, or even in the cryptocurrency. I'm big on crypto. I legally couldn't recommend this a few months ago, but hey, nowadays I'm telling you, $300 will get you a long way with some Bitcoin if you got a few years to wait. You got to be patient though. You can't just invest money and expect a return immediately. You got to be like, that's why I say any money that you invest with is already gone. Like there got to be money that you already that you feel like you don't need, because if you invest in money that you need, you're going to find yourself pulling money out of your investments in next month or in a few weeks, and you most likely gonna be down on those investments when you go to pull your money out, because you need it, and it's not when the market is peaking. It's when you need the money. And so that's why I say don't invest no money you can't afford to lose. So that's a big one. That's key, because a lot of people not doing that. They see a get rich quick scheme, whether it's options trading or stock market or crypto, especially. They feel like if they put some money in, they're gonna get a return next month or next week, and it just don't work like that in most cases. You feel me?
I feel you, man, but it's to the point where I understand like the purpose of like making investments and stuff like this. It's always good to make investments. Let your money make money for you. I mean, that's one of the best things you can do with life, especially if you have a surplus of income. But I think one of the things that, I guess, if we're going back to the basis of this conversation, is that someone who just now started making $50,000, maybe coming from a place where we're from, their knowledge of investments is slim to none. Like, you know what I mean? Kind of what you're piggybacking off of your experience. I think for the most part, you learned all you did about investing when you got to college. I mean, when you started learning about money, not from what you were taught.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I'm self-taught. I'm self-taught and all of that. But that's what you gotta be nowadays, bro. YouTube University is free. There's no reason why you should be lacking knowledge on this stuff out here when we got YouTube, we got Google. Like, I know your parents didn't teach you. My parents didn't teach me either. I understand. But at some point, you gotta put down the controller or put down the TV remote, or whatever it is, put down the blunt and go look at something that's gonna get you to that next level in life. Invest in yourself.
And I agree with you. A lot of people need to do that. What I mean? They need to change or break their cycle of being comfortable in order to grow and move further. But I think a lot of times you're gonna find is that a lot of people, that the same people you're talking about need to make investments that are living paycheck to paycheck. That I don't think truly most of those people consider that, not living within their means. But it goes back to one of the things I said before about I told you establish what you mean by living within your means. A lot of people feel like as long as their bills are paid, they're living within their means. So, as long as they don't have to borrow money, et cetera, et cetera. I've seen so many cases, especially where we're from, where people just say, hey, my bill's paid, I'm good, on to the next day.
So what if you keep that same mindset for the next 20, 30 years and you hit age 65, right? Before you know it, you're 65 and you about to retire, and you ain't got no money in your account, in your retirement account, because you never invested in, you never invested in none of the 401ks your jobs offered. You never opened up a retirement account. You never invested on the side in anything that we just talked about, whether stock market or crypto or whatever else. And now it's time for you to retire. What you gonna do? Get Social Security and they're gonna give you $1,000 a month or 15. Let's say they're giving you $1,500 a month at the time, because it's 30 years from now. Inflation is real.
Right.
So let's say by that point they're giving people $1,500 or $2,000 a month, because now they're giving people $1,000 a month, right? So roughly. So
it's somewhere around that range.
Yeah. So even then, $2,000 a month in 2045 is not gonna get you very far, man. I'm sorry to tell you that.
But it all goes back to your standard of living, though. Like, you have some people that can live off of that. You know what I mean? Especially if you get to the age of retirement, where say they already own their home. That's what they've been paying for the past 30 years. Like you said, they already own their home. They already own their car. You know what I mean? If they already own, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, they don't need this, that, and the third. They don't need the latest TV. They don't need the latest car. They don't need the latest. Hell, they don't even need TV for the most part. You got some people out there that are just comfortable with how they're living and the way they're living. So to the fact that, $50,000 is more than enough for them to sustain that type of living.
So check this.
I think go ahead.
I'm saying, what if Social Security goes insolvent? What if it's, like I said, it's getting more and more insolvent each year, and it's more people taking from the system than it is paying into the system at this point. I got family members that get disability checks that never worked a day in their life, or never paid taxes a day in their life.
Right.
And so it's gonna get to a point where it's not enough money to sustain that system, and either they're gonna cut it out completely, or they're just gonna start cutting checks, like literally cutting the amounts, the checks that they sending out. And so I don't want to have to depend on that. I don't want to have none of my people depending on that. 40 years from now, a government that already don't care about them, and that may or may not have $1,000 or $2,000 to give them in 40 years when you need $5,000 to live.
Right. No, I agree with you wholeheartedly. I think it is eventually going to come to a point where it's going to either run out, like you said, or and they're going to have to make a decision whether to cut checks or to completely cut it at all. Trust me, I got family members too that live off of money too, man. But I guess what my argument is that, in order for people to successfully invest and stuff like that, you first have to save first. I think that's the main part of it. You first have to save. Because like Sterling's saying, you can't invest money that you need immediately.
Yeah.
Your first step of investing is saving. I think one of the things, like my pops used to always tell me is, save. I think one of the knocks I have against him about telling me that is that he just didn't tell me why to save. He always just said, you may need money for the future, or you may need this. It's always good to just have. You know what I'm saying? But yeah. I think one of the first steps you have to take in order to invest is to save first. And then like Sterling said, you have to be self-taught. There's a lot of knowledge out here for you, but a lot of people don't want to willingly teach you unless they're getting paid themselves for doing it,
right?
Or unless it's a part of their job, et cetera, et cetera.
And that's why luckily YouTube is free, because I've learned more from YouTube University in the last 3-4 years than I ever learned in the whole 22 years before that. Whether it was educational stuff, spiritual stuff, investment, information, anything, money information, side hustles and there's ways to start businesses. So much knowledge out here, and that, like you said, that's you're definitely right. I should have touched on this a bit earlier when I was talking about the saving and investing. That $600 that I got on the screen right now, I recommend you put the whole 600. If you make it 3,000 a month and you trying to save or invest that 20%, that 600, save it all at first. Build up that savings base. And once you get 3 to 6 months of fixed expenses established in your savings, so if your fixed expenses are at $1,800 a month, that's 60%, then you know that 3 months of that is $5,400. Save up $600 a month until you get there, and that would take 9 months. And let's say if you needed, 6 months of fixed expenses saved up, which is what I really would recommend. This is when you're really going crazy. If you save up 6 months of fixed expenses, can't nobody tell you nothing. You can lose your job, you can get fired, laid off, anything tomorrow. You got 6 months of your bills in the bank, so you got something to hold you until you get back in the workforce. And if you can get unemployment or something on top of that in the meantime, that's even better. So you divide this by 600. That'll take 18 months. That'll take a year and a half if you're saving up $600 a month and you're trying to get to that $10,800, that $11,000 in your savings. So, like I said, I was a financial advisor. This is what we actually used to recommend to our clients: 3 to 6 months of fixed expenses, and with 3 months being the minimum of establishing that savings base. And once you get to that point where you're comfortable and you have 3 to 6 months of fixed expenses in your savings, then from there, like I said, you can go to investment. You can start putting the whole 600 in your investments, or let's say you want to do half and half, 300 into your savings and another 300 into investments. From there, you can really do whatever you want, because after that 6 month window is really inefficient to keep putting all your money in your savings. You want to do something. Right. You want to do something more efficient with your money, because the bank is only giving you a 1% or less than that on your savings a year, unless you got a money market account. And I actually recommend people put them savings into money market accounts. That gives you a little bit more interest on your money. I don't know. A lot of people are not hip to that, but credit unions offer them. Regular banks offer them as well. Everybody's interest rate is just a little bit different. So you want to check with your bank and see if they offer money market accounts, and see what the rules are for those. Because sometimes you can only withdraw money from those accounts a certain amount of times per month. So other than that, it's just like a regular savings account. But yeah, man, and the last 20% of your $3,000 a month should be going towards discretionary spending. Like I said, $1,800 of that going towards fixed expenses, another 20% going towards saving or investing, another 20% going towards discretionary spending. And this would be, going out on the weekends. This will be having parties or going out with your friends, having drinks and smoking, whatever it is you do that you don't need to do, but you want to do. That's just discretionary spending. And so you want to make sure that you're not going over that 20%. In this case, that would be $600 if you make it $50,000 a year before taxes. You don't want to go over that $600 a month. So, if that's the case, you shouldn't be spending no more than $150 a week on BS that you don't need, And I think that's the biggest problem right there for a lot of people. Is not the debt with people in our community more so than it is the discretionary spending. People start making money and they're like, I want to buy shoes, I want to buy clothes, I want to buy the Ferragamo belt, I want to, I want to do all this, I want to buy all this stuff, bro. We lit, and that's really the mindset of our generation when you see all these rappers and all this stuff on TV and all these people flexing, but they're not telling you these rappers got rented jewelry, these rappers is financing their cars, these rappers got loans from the record labels that they gotta pay back, and if their album don't recoup that money, they owe the label. It's all a facade, yo. Don't nobody really got as much money as they make it seem in the age of social media.
And I don't even think it's that big. I know you took it there with the whole the entertainment industry and stuff like that.
Yeah.
I think it's really a lot simpler than what people make. I think a lot of people are just used to not having, used to wanting instead of having. So once they get to the point where they make money, they can actually have. They don't know how to control themselves, much like you've been talking about here.
Yeah.
But I think it's one of those things that, like you said, goes back into like the knowledge of how you were raised and how you were taught to manage money, et cetera, et cetera. But it also goes back into like the person you are. Like if you have a lot of self control, and if you have a lot of discipline and et cetera, like I said before, $50,000 would be more than enough for you to live off of and sustain living, and to do the 60-20-20 ratio or the 20-20 rule like you're speaking of.
Yeah. Yeah, man. I just feel like, yeah, like you said, it's hard, man. It's definitely hard to keep that constraint and keep that discipline.
Yeah.
If you ain't never had
everybody
it,
wants it,
bro.
Everybody wants something, man.
And I've been through that before, but you gotta go through it. If either you gonna be disciplined from the jump and maintain that self control and that discipline off gate, and you're gonna be soaring through the sky with flying colors, and you gonna always have money saved up, or you're gonna have to learn the hard way, and you're gonna have to hit rock bottom, and go through those times where you realize after you done bought all of this stuff, you got a full house full of gadgets and clothes or whatever, and you like, yo, this stuff really don't mean nothing. I'm really not happy or any happier than I was when I didn't have this stuff. That's what it's gonna take for you to realize that none of that stuff really matters at the end of the day, and at that point, that's when the shift happens in your mind, and that light bulb goes off and everything just clicks, But I don't want people to have to go through that like I did, or like you might have, or anybody else. So that's why we having this conversation right now. We trying to change the narrative, and we trying to change the mindset of our people so we can start growing sooner than later. Because the sooner you can start saving up your money, investing your money, investing in yourself, the better off you're gonna be in the long run. The better off your family gonna be in the long run.
And it doesn't all have to be done overnight or in one generation. Like, the baby steps you could take that you would instill in your younger family members or your younger cousins or even your children, will make waves to the next generation. The little things you could change with your generation will be the standard for the next one, and then so on. That's how you build generational wealth. It's not done overnight. By no means is it done overnight.
Oh no, this process take years, bro. Like, man, you don't understand. You do not understand. I ain't even talking to you. I'm talking to the people right now. They do not understand, man. Like, because it's not an overnight thing. You will go crazy trying to make it happen overnight.
You would definitely go crazy thinking about how you're gonna do it in your life alone. So I'll say that. If you make one step forward, that's a good step. Just count your blessings and try not to make any steps back.
Right. So, I think it's a good point to start wrapping up this conversation. We've been on for almost an hour and a half at this point. So just so I can, in conclusion, for me at least, I'm going to let you go afterwards, but for me at least, I feel like, a good start with all of this, like I said, is that 60-20-20 rule. Whatever money you make, try to keep 60% of that towards fixed expenses, another 20% towards saving or investing, or saving definitely until you get to 3 to 6 months of your fixed expenses saved up in the bank, and then save and invest from there, and another 20% towards not fixed expenses, towards discretionary spending, which would be like I said before, anything you want but don't need, like going out, any vices you have, any hobbies you have, anything like that, and consolidating bills would probably be the next thing I would say, whether it's consolidating your credit cards by doing a balance transfer to like a 0% APR card. A lot of cards like offer 0% periods for like the first year and a half, where there's no interest. And if you do a balance transfer on your other cards to that card, not only are you consolidating all of that into one bill instead of 3, 4, 5 bills or however many credit cards you got, you also lowering your interest rate for a year or a year and a half to 0%. And so you can pay that debt down without, the balance going up or the interest going up in the meantime. And from there, you can look at investing and stuff like that. Cryptocurrencies, a huge wave of the future coming soon. 10 years from now, I feel like Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies are going to be mainstream for good. We're going to be able to go to Walmart and spend crypto straight off our phone, just like you use Apple Pay right now. except it's gonna be crypto. You're gonna have video games coming out that allow you to earn crypto while you playing video games. You're gonna have lending services, lending different types of crypto. All of this is coming in the next decade. So I say do your research, figure out what types of crypto are the wave of the future. Obviously, it's like 5,000 different coins out already. All of them ain't gonna make it. Most of them not gonna make it. So you want to stick with the major ones like Bitcoin, Ethereum, stuff like that. If you really into crypto and you looking into getting into that space, but it's a wild west right now. I wouldn't recommend getting into that unless you have a lot of disposable income at the moment. And I can help you as far as guiding you. If you want to get into crypto, reach out to me on any of these mediums down here, and I'll let you know what I think and what I recommend as far as that. But yeah, man, it's a lot, I know, of information to take in, and that's why we was on here so long talking. So I hope y'all really appreciated this tonight. Anything you want to add to that, Jelan?
No, I think you really had a good spiel on the whole financial part of it, being responsible and so forth. I got just a point to make, just I guess the emotional / I guess like philosophical point of the whole money thing, and back to the whole basis of the argument about $50,000. Is it really decent money or not? Like that, you know what I mean? It's all of what we're talking about is based on your perspective. Like, you know what I mean? If you feel like you have the means to save, to invest, to do all these things, then by all means, do your research, do your homework, and do those things. If you're comfortable with your life as it is now, there's no pressure to you to change anything that you're doing. If you're okay living month to month or paycheck to paycheck, as Sterling says, and that's your life, we can't change it. We can't tell you what to do, what's wrong or right. But if you're one of those people that want to, I guess, move forward in life and, I guess, really embody what it means to be financially free or somewhat financially free, then some of the steps that Sterling outlined here about the 60-20-20 rule, about managing your credit cards, about the dangers of living beyond your means, about, lending money to your family members, about lending beyond your means, about investing, et cetera, et cetera. All those things you have to take into consideration if you plan to move forward. But it all boils down to you and your perspective about how your standard of living is and what you consider needs and wants at the end of the day.
Right. Yeah. Great point, bro. I mean, I feel like everybody, like you said, everybody's situation is different. So, everybody probably took something different from this conversation. Everybody doesn't have to feel the same way or, have the same goals after this type of conversation. But it's important that everybody feel like they learned something.
Right. I'm not expecting everybody to watch this and go invest in Bitcoin. That'd be the wrong fucking thing to do.
It's gonna be a lot of hurt motherfuckers out here once Bitcoin drop again. So like I said before, take every point I made in this conversation and pay attention and listen. But that don't mean that you gotta implement everything or feel like everything is for your situation. The shoe don't fit everybody. Everybody's situation is different. But yeah, man, I feel like we had a great talk tonight, man. This is like one of the best conversations I've ever had about this type of stuff. So, you're welcome on anytime, bro.
No doubt.
If you want to do this again, I feel like next time, we can go into something a bit different since we already touched on this particular topic. But yeah, man, I'm definitely looking forward to feedback, hearing from people, and hearing what they liked and what they want to hear more about. So, if you have any suggestions or if you have any particular financial topics that you want to touch on or want me to touch on in one of my future conversations, definitely comment, like the video, of course, share the video with your friends and your family, and like I said, shoot me a message or leave me a comment and let me know what you want to hear from me next, and we'll touch on it a bit more in a future conversation. So, yep. Yeah, anything else you want to add before we get out of here, though, Jelan?
Nah, man, I think you got it all, man. Just let your fans know that, hey, start the conversations early, and I guess you be prepared for the worst.
All right. Well, yeah, man. I appreciate you for joining me tonight, for real, man. Great conversation again. Bro. And yeah, before I go, gotta plug the sponsor. This episode was sponsored in part, like always, by Large Clothing. Get your Large hoodies, get your Large tees. www.largeclothing.co. living and realizing great excellence. That's what we're about over here. So, yeah, man.
And it's tough, y'all. I went on video. I actually got a t-shirt on right now, y'all.
Oh man, see, you should have been on. You should have been on video tonight.
That's tough.
Well, all right, man. I'm gonna go ahead and get off of this stream, man. Appreciate you again for joining me.
Yeah, man. Have a good one, bro.
All right, you too.